I remember I deleted Instagram and then I played Trivia Crack that whole week. I had like probably like 18 hours that week on Trivia Crack, and I was like going crazy on that.
Hi, and welcome to episode 2 of the Intersectional Podcast. I'm your host, Fahim Kamal.
I'm your other host, Brandon Winchell.
I'm your other host, Lily Remington.
And I am your final host, Karina Provost. So on today's episode, we are going to be tackling the topic of technology and whether or not it actually makes us feel more connected or more alone. A lot of the psychological research and articles and studies put about this topic today are opinion pieces primarily. So we kind of wanted to share some of our insight on how we as teenagers using technology on a daily basis to communicate, especially during quarantine, could actually kind of elaborate on how we feel about whether or not we feel more connected or more alone.
So I just wanted to start off, I guess, with my own opinion. Personally, I believe that technology does make us more alone, and I know that there are plenty of arguments out there saying how, we're more connected than ever before, with being able to contact people across the globe using Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or other means of connection, just texting each other. But personally, I'm the kind of person who needs that kind of face-to-face interaction, I don't get the same satisfaction with talking to other people as I do texting versus when I talk to them in person. Because when you're texting, there's room for error, you can misinterpret what someone's saying, or sometimes it just doesn't feel like their voice. I know within our whole group, we always joke about how we each have our own, like, e-personas. Like, the way that we talk through text and stuff is different than how we talk in real life, and honestly, I just, like, because of that, I feel like that's one reason why I feel more alone, because it just doesn't feel like the genuine, authentic person I'm used to knowing when I talk to them online.
That's completely understandable. We end up talking about our e-personas a lot, and even now, when people now are communicating over things like Discord and Zoom and Skype, it's a question or sometimes a toss-up whether you really know or can form a solid connection between yourself and that person, because there will always be the screen barrier, so you don't know how much of this is kind of like a fabricated e-persona of some sort.
Yeah, and go ahead, Brandon.
I was just gonna say that I feel like that's like more exemplified with like texting instead of like calling, and like especially FaceTime, because like on FaceTime it's like face to face, and I agree with Lily. I don't think it's like the same, but I feel like it's more like e-personas, because I feel like I'm more authentically, like, not more authentically myself, but I'm like my authentic self when I talk to people over the phone or on Discord and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like, like, actually calling someone on the phone or having, like an interaction where you can actually talk to the person in real time, whether that be a Zoom call, Skype call, etc. I feel like that makes me feel less lonely than when I'm just talking, like, through text and such. But even still, there's all those, like, memes going around of people trying to act like they're frozen or like their screen froze on FaceTime. And, hearing stuff like that, it's like, it just makes me feel bad for, like, wanting to talk to somebody over the phone, but it's like, what difference is that versus real life,
Mm-hmm.
Right. And we've talked about it before, but how like, in terms of texting and stuff, how I'm the kind of person who tends to adapt to whoever I'm texting, even though my kind of natural style of texting is more similar to my natural style of speaking, where I end up texting in like full paragraph length responses with proper grammar and punctuation. But if I'll see somebody sends me a response with 4 acronyms and no punctuation, I'll freeze up and get nervous about how I should respond.
Yeah. And kind of sort of going off that is, like, when people text me, I take a really long time to respond, just because I don't know why, but I just feel so nervous about being the person to reach out or being the person to respond, because it's just so much easier to do that in person when you can tell if the person is in the mood to talk or not. Because I would feel really bad, like, texting somebody if they're not in the mood, and then I'm kind of forcing them to have a conversation with me. But, if everyone thinks like that, then no one's texting each other because we all just think it's going to be a burden to the other person, but that's just making us more alone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that, Lily, because I feel like I'm like less anxious about talking to people when it's over the phone or on the internet, because yeah, go ahead.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's like I'm less like anxious about it when it's over like the phone or something like that, especially like texting, because I feel less anxious. I just press a button and then I don't have to worry about it. It's not like I have like real time like communications with them and I have to respond right away. But I still feel like there's some sort of like what Lily was saying. There's like a sense of like being scared of being rejected, or like not necessarily rejected, but like someone doesn't want to talk to you at that time, but they don't want to say it to you. And honestly, that's like not a great feeling.
I personally find myself relating to a lot of the associations that people have between technology pushing us apart from people, but I think that's just because I'm a naturally socially anxious person. Um, but in recent times, I'd have to say that my personal belief skews more towards the fact that I think that the connections we have are better and genuine. So I know I brought up the whole e-persona thing, but I think that a lot of times when you have the screen to kind of hide behind, you strip away a lot of the pretense that comes with face-to-face communication. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
As
I
in,
can definitely
like,
understand that.
But I also feel like there's some level of issue or concern that surrounds, people's feelings of anonymity, or just like feeling like a different version of themselves when they're online, because that's how a lot of things like cyberbullying come to happen, because you don't see the person who's receiving the message and they don't see you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
Right.
there's a level of issue with that though as well.
And I think one of the important like things that need to be distinguished is that I think a lot of the part of technological communication is through text. Like things that are written out are oftentimes, like, not only are they more permanent than things that are verbal, but there's more anonymity. There's more to hide behind when you're just texting. Um, so I think that most of my belief when it comes to the fact that technology doesn't really make us feel more alone or more separate is the fact that the capability we have to have actual vocal conversations with other people online.
hmm I don't know if you guys like feel this, but do you feel like you're more like you would have like less conversations with like people who you wouldn't consider your best friends over like technology as opposed to in person? Because like I feel like when we're in person, we're kind of like forced to have those conversations, and when we're in technology, like we can more pick and choose who we talk to.
I'm kind of in between on that, because while there's some people that I guess I might I would talk to less over text, there's also people like that I was friends with back in elementary school, middle school, that I haven't really talked to because, we've gone to different schools, that I still talk to.
Hmm.
I don't know. I kind of agree with your viewpoint that like we're forced to have those conversations when we're in person, and like when you're online you could avoid them more. So like I don't know. There's like I talk to a lot of like the people that I'm like close with, but I don't really talk to like people that aren't like that close of friends, like other than the occasional like happy birthday or whatever.
Right. I have found myself like really invested in the technology that I use to talk to people. Um, because it's just like a subset of one of my hobbies. Like one of the things you do with like video games is like play video games with other people. And so I found myself coming really close to groups of people who I would have never found myself interacting with otherwise. But like even though when in person you're kind of forced to interact with more people and have those conversations with more people, I think it's a lot calmer over the internet because you have the time and place to kind of create that space to talk to people. Um, so like the more you spend time talking to people, whether it be in person or online, I think the better you get to know each other anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's like the biggest argument for like why technology doesn't make us more alone. Like that we meet a lot of people online whenever we're like playing games or something, and like those relationships have the potential to be very strong just because like when we're home, like that's what we do, right?
But also, having that ability to be more selective of who you talk to online, wouldn't you say that that also is arguing for the fact that technology makes us more alone? Because you, kind of like how I was saying, being afraid of being rejected when texting somebody, like that's a reality, that people probably face. And when I send somebody a text and they don't respond for like 4 hours, like maybe they are busy, but it makes me feel like, oh, this person just doesn't want to talk to me. If this person doesn't want to talk to me, nobody wants to talk to me. And maybe that's just like my sort of spiraling mindset, but like that's one of the reasons why I say, technology does make us more alone.
But it's not like it's exclusive to technology. I feel like those anxieties that like when you're talking to someone can happen in real life too. And if not, I feel like they're stronger in life because it's more real, it's more face to face.
I find myself walking a line with my beliefs, like kind of regarding that, because I have a lot of those anxieties myself. Like I experience kind of the, oh, this person doesn't want to talk to me. Oh, have I done something wrong? When you're kind of forced to play that waiting game. But the thing that I think I disagree with most is that I think that kind of being selective with it helps a lot in building genuine connection online. Um, because I, I'm not necessarily sure if this sounds rude or particular, but you kind of see like the more you talk to people in person, the more you find out things you have in common and the more times you often get to act on those things. And it's the same parallel online. Like when you get to pick and choose the times that you use the internet, you talk to people, you are being more selective with when and where you have your interaction, but I think it sets within ourselves like more comfortability with interacting with people.
Yeah, I think my main argument like on the side of it makes us more alone is just the fact that I don't feel like interacting online is the same as interacting in person, and obviously you can meet new people online and sometimes you can like then become friends in real life, but there's a lot of times where like interacting online and making friends doesn't lead to real life connections, and I just feel like those aren't as like it's not as real, and that's like a lost sense of humanity.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I personally have been very lucky with the friends that I've made online because I have gotten to meet quite a few of them in person. Um, and I feel like mild disclaimer that can be very dangerous. Please be safe on the internet. But these were people that had known my real life friends for many years, and
Mm-hmm.
nobody was being catfished. Let's say that much.
Yeah.
Karina, did you feel like your connection with your friends online like definitely strengthened when you saw them in person?
With a couple of them, yes. With others, no. So I am a person, as I said before, very socially anxious. So having kind of the removal of the screen was very nerve wracking for me
Mm-hmm.
because I'd been talking to these people for maybe like probably a year at this point. So even though we'd gotten to know each other pretty well, meeting them in person was still relatively nerve wracking. Um, but after you kind of get over that initial barrier of, oh, hi, yeah, this is me, you are you, things get a lot more comfortable, and it really was a lot of fun. I really feel like I did have and do have genuine connections with those people that were stronger because of it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I know Brennan, you have some like friends that you've met online or through Xbox, and like what's your position on that?
I mean, yeah, they're good friends of mine, and it's like I obviously like met them online, and I wouldn't have been able to meet them without the internet. But I feel like, cause I've met them a couple times, but I'm not like very self disclosing with them. Like I don't tell them a ton about um like what's happening in my real life and how I feel, and that might be more of like a personality thing to me. But it's just like I don't feel as connected to them as like people I've met in real life.
Mm-hmm. what I was gonna say is like I feel like technology makes more like contingent relationships because when you're on technology, like you're doing specific things whilst talking to people. Like I feel like people
Mm-hmm.
rarely just talk and meet friends. Like whether
Yeah.
you're playing a game, it's the game you're playing that kind of ties and like founds your relationship. So like you're less likely to disclose, and it's like a lot of your
Yeah.
conversation might like focus in on that one contingent thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's also to be said, like, even say, this is like semi-related, but like when I'm at a friend's house or something, and when we don't know what to say to each other, we just revert to like, sitting on our phones, going through Instagram, going through TikTok, going through whatever social media we have, and then we're talking about that and not actually talking about, other facets of our relationship that could connect us, like in real life. And I just feel like, as a result, like that's partially why I feel so lonely. And even though I've had plenty of friends, text me and be like, I'm always here for you, like if you ever need somebody to talk to, but hearing that through a text message
Mm-hmm.
is so much different than like hearing it in real life, because I can't, you can't feel how genuine the person is being. And obviously you'd probably only say that if you were being genuine, but just personally, like, I'm the kind of person who likes hearing that, in real life. And so as a result, even with some of my close friends that I know in person, if they've only ever said that through text message, I still don't feel as self-disclosing with them,
Mm-hmm.
and I can't come to them when I need them.
Yeah.
I think it's complicated though because like you mentioned how like you go on your phones when you guys don't have anything to talk about. There's
Hmm.
like been days where me and Brandon haven't talked, but like we sent each other TikToks and like we just like laughed over that, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I think technology definitely has the capability to like push people together if it's like used correctly.
Yeah, but then at the same time, I just feel like when I talk to people, like I just appreciate having a real conversation, not just like it's nice, to once in a while like send something that made you laugh, because, that's one of the reasons why you can share those things. But I just feel like, I don't know, that's just like my personality, I guess. I just like having real conversations, like actual conversations with people.
Mm-hmm. I, you could go, Karina.
So something about it that kind of sticks with me, um, is that the difference between like having like interaction with people online and interaction with people in person. I've heard a lot of people say that being able to reach somebody kind of at like the touch of our
Mm-hmm.
fingers gives way to like incessant like instant gratification that makes our generation rather like greedy and impatient and attention deficit. Um, and so people say that it's really negative that we have this kind of as an opportunity. And I was just kind of wondering if you guys like thought the same, or if you thought that it just makes like in-person communication more rewarding, or
Yeah, no, I agree with that, and I probably haven't read up on as much psychology as you have, like regarding that topic. But I feel like having these things that we do like compulsively and just like, there's been times where like I go on my phone, like I'm feeling a little down, I go on my phone and I know exactly where the place of the app is that I want to go on. And for me, it seems like something that just opens up my world, like, and seeing like all these posts on Instagram or watching TikToks. And without those apps, like one time they were updating even, and I just felt so like empty, and it was like weird. But I feel like having these things is really like detrimental to our health in terms of like the ways we act, because I just feel like it forms habits that we don't like need and that aren't productive for like humans.
Yeah, I think it's kind of interesting that you say like that whole feeling of emptiness. Like, so, and this is kind of related to what Karina was saying and asking, is I definitely feel like these forms of like instant communication, connection with the world, like Instagram, TikTok, etc., definitely does make us more like attention deficit, if that's the right word, in
Mm-hmm.
the sense that like if I'm doing my homework and then like I say I've been doing it for 20 minutes and I want to take a break, and then I just, I open Instagram or whatever, and then I just can scroll endlessly for hours, but it's just mindless scrolling. And it's like
Mm-hmm.
I really wasn't bored of doing my homework and I really didn't need the break. I just felt disconnected from the world, and I wanted to see like something from one of these social media apps, but it's just completely pointless. And then in attempts to combat that, in the past, I've deleted Instagram, deleted Snapchat, deleted these social medias so that I don't get as distracted. But, and kind of like what you were saying, Brandon, my finger just knows where that app is on my
Mm-hmm.
phone. And so then, like, I move apps in their place, and then I click on it, and then it's not the actual app, and I'm like disappointed. And it's honestly kind of sad and embarrassing.
Yeah, you open up like Gmail instead of like Instagram, and you're like, what is this?
Yeah, and it's
Uh,
just kind of embarrassing, to
Right.
like think that I'm so quote unquote addicted to like social media and
mhm.
technology that that's how I
Mhm.
feel.
Yeah.
Which kind of reminds me, so do you all remember the extra credit assignment we did
Yes.
in pre-IP
Oh
English
yeah.
last year where we had to give up one of these things
Mhm.
for
Yeah.
a week?
Yeah, I remember that.
How did you guys feel stepping away? Like, what did you guys choose, and how did you guys feel stepping away from that, like, piece of technology?
All right, real quick, I just want to add this for clarity. So I just want to describe what the extra credit assignment we had was. So basically, our English teacher in 10th grade, which was like a year and a half ago at this point, assigned us to do this challenge where we basically deleted one social media app or stopped using one piece of technology for like a week, and she would give us like 1% extra credit. I believe it was related to Walden and Thoreau's experience with living in the woods for like a couple years, but we felt it was related to this topic, so I just wanted to clear that up really quick. I could go first. I don't really remember what I chose. I think it was Instagram. But the fact that it was only one, I feel like, like, because I still have, like, a bunch of other apps I could go to, but it was, like, weird for a couple of days, and honestly, I think it's a valid solution to the problem, and you should, like, try it if you haven't, but, like, deleting these apps honestly made me feel a lot, or, like, deleting Instagram made me feel a lot better, because I had it deleted, before for different reasons, but honestly, I feel like it's an effective way to, like, lose that addiction and like get more time to do what you actually love.
I'm not sure what I did for the assignment, or if I even did the assignment. I don't think I did. But like coming from that outside perspective, like, do you feel like once you deleted the app, you went on to other apps more and like kind of filled that void?
Oh. Sorry, I have a really interesting story. I'm sorry if I interrupted you guys. I remember I deleted Instagram and then I played Trivia Crack that whole week. I had like probably like 18 hours that week on Trivia Crack and I was like going crazy on that. But like I mean, I don't know if I was like gripping it like something like Instagram where I went on it when I was bored or if I was just like in a trivia mood, but like yeah, I did definitely go on more or like other apps more.
See, that's why I'm
Well,
not
at
sure.
least it was a semi-educational game.
Yeah, semi.
Like that's why I'm not sure that that's like the solution in isolation. I feel like
I
you have to
mean,
do a lot more than just delete
I
one app, right? You have to
yeah.
change your
Well,
whole habit, your whole mindset about it.
Mhm.
well, when I deleted it, so I deleted Instagram and Snapchat, which those were like the two social medias I was using the most at the time. And after the week, I kind of kept them deleted really until like the end of the school year just because I was like studying for AP tests and I was like, I don't need this
Mhm.
distraction in my life. And at
Hmm.
first, as a result of deleting that, I watched a lot more YouTube and
Mhm.
Netflix. But then I like restricted YouTube from my phone and deleted Netflix.
Yeah.
And then after I downloaded them in junior year, like summer going into junior year, and then really back when school started, I really haven't like I haven't opened Snapchat in
Mhm.
months just because I'm not in the habit of looking at it anymore to the point where I've just deleted the app altogether. Like I realized I'm probably never gonna go on this again. And I
Mhm.
find
So
that
you broke the habit.
and I find that I do go on Instagram less than I did before.
Yeah, so it's kind of like breaking the habits. And I personally gave up YouTube, which
Ooh.
wasn't too much of an inconvenience of me because I spent a lot of time on YouTube. Um, but I used to put YouTube videos on as background noise when I did homework, just to
Hmm.
Mhm.
have some sort of white noise playing. And I realized after doing that and in the beginning of junior year, just like how much of a distraction that really was, and how much longer it took me to get my homework done.
Uh-huh.
Um,
But
and
it's like we crave that, right? Like you wanted the white noise. You wanted that like quote unquote
Yeah.
gratification.
right, and so at that point, like when I deleted it, I had ended up switching over to just like listening to pure music, not on YouTube, obviously, because that would have broken the rules of the assignment.
Mm-hmm.
But I ended up listening to music and kind of discovered that as like, oh, this is where my focus is now.
Yeah, I had something else to say. I remember what I forgot to say, or what I like forgot when I was speaking. I think part of the reason it's so hard for us to delete it is the sense that we'll be like left out, and like people are like doing stuff on
Yeah.
Instagram and Snapchat that like we like don't want to lose out on. We don't want to be like left out of it. And I think like the thing about that assignment which made it easier was a lot of people deleted Instagram, and like a lot of the people in those classes were my friends, so like I didn't feel like I was like losing out on anything they were doing. But like I don't know, that's just my personal opinion.
Like you
Yeah.
delete Instagram, you don't know the best memes now, so like
Yeah.
everyone hates you.
You don't, or like not necessarily like that, but just like the fact that like, oh, something might be happening on Instagram, there might be a new trend that like I don't know. Yeah, like something like that.
And the fact that I think, like we crave to know those things so much is like also kind of like sad and worrisome in their
Mhm.
own right.
hmm I think that there's kind of a flip side to that is really positive. Like I'm sure our craving to know things and to not actually have that fear of missing out or be out of the loop is not necessarily good for us because it creates a lot of worry and for some people kind of internal panic to be out of the loop for what people are doing. But I do think that having this array of interconnectedness and knowledge, especially in this day and age, has created a really good atmosphere for sharing important information,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
like things that could genuinely help people or bring attention to major world issues.
Yeah, I agree with that. Especially like there's a bunch of stuff I've seen on social media about like human trafficking and like crises in other countries.
hmm
But another thing I wanted to add is like being left out. I guess I forgot to include this in that. But like if someone needed to contact me, let's say, and they don't have my phone number, but like you could look up my name on Instagram, and they if they needed me, they could that way. But if I didn't have Instagram, how was I supposed to know? And I think that was something that scared me.
Mm, that's
Yeah, but then I
interesting.
guess at the same time you could think, if the person truly needs to contact you, like they
Mm-hmm.
should have your phone number.
Yeah, or they could get
Mm-hmm.
it from someone else. But like I don't
Yeah.
know, that was some like internal anxiety attack I had when that was all going on.
I don't know. What do
Right.
you guys think is like the most or least fulfilling apps? Because I don't think it's the same. Like I'd argue that Snapchat probably is the least socially
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
filling app. What are your thoughts?
Absolutely. Like I got peer pressured into getting Snapchat, so I've had Snapchat for, according to my streak with a friend of mine, for about 37 days, and I I don't use it. I use
Yeah.
it to send that person a single photo every day, and I don't use it.
Yeah.
It's not fulfilling in any way.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
All right, real quick before I start talking again, I just want to say I was being a little dumb. Or I guess I don't know if I was dumb. I just misinterpreted what he said. And basically, he was asking, like, socially fulfilling, like, which is the best replacement for real life social interaction. And I thought he just meant, like, which one is the most fulfilling, as in, like, which one is, like, the most addictive, the most pleasurable. So I just wanted to put this really quick because it sounded a little weird when I was talking about it because I didn't really understand what he was saying. So I used to use Instagram a lot. I would have like, because you could check the activity status on that. I used to have probably like 50 minutes a day. Now it's probably like down to like 5 minutes a day because I barely use it. I think TikTok to me, although it's not like socially like rewarding as in like I talk to people, but I just feel like the entertainment value or the instant gratification of like watching those like short videos is something that like I feel is like makes it the most satisfying of the apps because I always go on it. Like I'll be like, oh, I'm bored, and then I go over to like the app and I'm like, okay, let me just open this, watch it for like 5 minutes, and then go on with my day.
It's interesting because TikTok hadn't always had that role. It's like it was Instagram before, and it's interesting to see how that shifted.
Oh, like for me, yeah.
Mhm.
I I don't know. I just always thought Instagram was the best, and I feel like Snapchat, like the reason it didn't like fulfill me is because it's not like all these posts and there's like you either need to get messaged by someone or it's like a story that's like limited, and then when you're done with those they have like the Snapchat sponsored ones, but I don't really watch all of those.
Right.
And Instagram, you could go like scroll, and I follow a lot more people on Instagram than I do on Snapchat, and then there's the explore page and just like everything. But on TikTok, when that came out, there's just unlimited videos. Like you could keep scrolling for days and not get anywhere close to near the amount of the like videos posted in that day.
But wouldn't you say, like, as a result, that's probably why it's one of the worst apps?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you mean by like worst as like
In
a
terms of like
classification.
social fulfillment, like your connection to other people.
Oh,
Yeah.
like so. Oh, that's
Because
what
then
you
you're
meant.
just sat there wasting your time, all day.
I thought you
just
meant like
scrolling
social
endless.
fulfillment, as in like what you go on the most, or like what you think is the
No,
most
no,
addictive.
no. That's why I think
Social-
like FaceTime is probably the best one.
Yeah.
Socially fulfilled. Like when I think about that, I don't think of any app specifically, and I guess like FaceTime's an app, but I didn't really think of it like as an app. Like FaceTime and just like calling people, I feel like are the most like fulfilling to me,
Mm-hmm.
Most definitely.
because I have like genuine conversations about those, and like the other apps, it's just like nonsense, like conspicuous consumption of all this media that doesn't mean anything to me within the next like 30
Yeah.
seconds.
For me personally, it's Discord.
Mm-hmm.
I use Discord all the time. As I mentioned to you all, the fastest way to contact me is probably through Discord rather than my actual phone or phone number. Because I have my phone plugged into my PC tower and I just have it flipped over on my desk 90% of the time. And if my ringer's off, I more often than not will not see it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's where I find myself having the most interaction with people. And ever since the whole world catastrophe happened, more and more of my friends have been getting and utilizing web cameras to communicate with one another. And so I find that as a platform, it's become a lot more dynamic for communication and kind of fulfilling that social need.
Yeah, and so I was gonna say, I actually think it's interesting, I was thinking about saying FaceTime because you actually get to see, the person's face, but then you brought up Discord, and Discord also has that function, and they even have, the function where you can like share your screen with somebody, which
Mm-hmm.
so like you can, for example, watch a movie at the same time, and it's not really like delayed like how it is in FaceTime. So I'd say like probably FaceTime, just calling, or Discord is probably like, the most socially like rewarding, I guess.
I wonder if post-COVID, like a lot of people are gonna have social anxiety just because they're not used to talking to people face to face as much and having to rely on technology.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's an interesting question, because like when you're out of practice of something, like even if it's just like socializing, like right now we're probably only doing it much with our family and like our close friends, but like after, I feel like it might be hard. And I don't know. I've just always been like socially awkward and like socially anxious, cuz I don't know. It's just part of my personality, but it's not been like harder, I would say.
I have to say I agree with that because I've always had a bit of that kind of like social reservation when it comes to things. And I've read a ton of things, like a ton of psychology papers on this as well. Um, because I found myself incredibly uncomfortable in a lot of social situations, and sometimes it was my fault, but sometimes I felt that I was like reading situations wrong, or if I made a mistake that nobody would forget it and I'd never be able to live it down. And that's honestly another reason that I was like dissuaded from using a lot of social media. Like I didn't actually get any social media accounts until my freshman year of high school. Um and even then it was primarily peer pressure and looking for different ways to connect with people that drove me to do so.
Okay, so I have one more question for you guys. Where do you think like this technology situation is leading us in as a society?
See, that question is like really interesting because I think technology is gonna get better to the point like where like face-to-face interaction might become really low. Because when you start looking at
Like virtual reality.
like virtual reality, exactly. When
Mm-hmm.
you look at virtual reality, I feel like it's gonna get to the point where like we're just talking to people, we're interacting, and so as like a society, I feel like we're going more towards that direction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm.
I would kind of agree. I think it's gonna get to the point where it's like technology will feel so real that people will feel like they won't need to necessarily have as much face-to-face interaction, like even now, people are surviving by doing Zoom calls, Skype calls, etc. And if technology gets well enough developed that, not saying like a hologram, but something like that where it's like it feels like a real interaction or virtual reality or something like that. I feel like
Right.
then people will just be like, then what's the point of trying to go and see someone if I don't have to? And as a result, people will still feel more lonely because like I just think that having face-to-face interaction is like such an important and necessary part of like communicating with other people.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I disagree with where the future is going in terms of like interaction and the value of face to face. Like if it's so real that I'm able to indistinguish it, I don't think there's an inherent benefit to face to face interaction at that point. If the same thing's gonna happen, and if I feel like it's real, I'm going to have the same benefits, I feel.
But isn't it
Well,
kind of sad to think that the person that you're talking to, like in all actuality, is kind of just like a facade? And we kind of talked in the beginning about like e-personas and stuff, so is the person
Yeah,
that
but
you're
I think
talking
those
to really still that person?
I feel like those e-personas would diminish as technology becomes
And
more
just
real.
become our persona.
I think they have diminished. I really think they have. Like, I know that I am able to be myself much more easily online. And when I'm speaking to people, like sometimes even to people that I don't even know all of that well, because I feel like when I'm speaking to people in person, I have to raise my head high and pull my shoulders back, um, and often come off more formal than maybe I should be because I'm more afraid of what people will think about me in person. Um, but if society gets to a point where it's hard to distinguish between like the kind of connection you feel in real life versus the kind of connection you feel online, then I think that they're both equally beneficial.
Yeah, I agree, but it's like, is that something we would want for like us as humanity to like just become like so entrenched in technology that we can't tell the difference between it and reality?
So I
Yeah.
think what's really tripping us up here is the knowledge, is the fact that we know it's not real.
The capability of thought
Yeah.
and the
Right.
like.
Like I'm kind of imagining a scenario where like you have a family, right? And then you have kids and then they go off to college and instead of coming back to visit you at Christmas, they don't feel like it's necessary and they just
Mhm.
decide to use this technology. But it's like even though it looks like them like completely, and it might even like feel like they're there, but the fact that they're just like physically not present, I just feel like would be like kind of heartbreaking.
Mhm.
I don't know. I feel like as just like as a whole, I feel like people's quality of lives would increase because of that. Because I feel like a lot more people would have access to it than like real life, just because they're able to be more themselves.
I just I don't know exactly like what the future holds for us because none of us can. But like I don't really like the idea of that. And as this one psychology researcher, he released a book and it was quite controversial. Said his name is Johan Hari. He said just like bees evolved to live in a hive, humans evolved to live in a tribe. And if that tribe is just a facade and it's the internet that we connect with, is it really a tribe?
Yeah, and like that kind of just reminded me of that article that we had to read last year. The one that was by Sebastian Younger, the does like how PTSD goes far beyond the battlefield. And
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
essentially the main point of that article was like humans are social creatures and they desire and like crave like physical interaction. And I mean, I guess, like there are people out there who get like more gratitude from online conversations because they're just they can be more themselves online. But just for me personally, I feel like I'm more myself when I'm in person rather than when I'm online. And yeah, like I
I
just
agree.
yeah.
I don't know. I feel like if technology were to get at that point, it would play on our physical, like our
Yeah.
physical benefits would be accrued by like the virtual reality because it seems real. It's like it
I
feels real. You know what I mean?
But I don't know. I guess just personally, like, knowing that it's not real,
At
like,
this
I would
point.
just get stuck.
I guess it's just
Mm-hmm.
my inability to like understand like how that technology would work and like how that would make us think it's not real because I like as of right now knowing that it would like not be real is dragging me down. But like in
Mm-hmm.
the future if we didn't know like say perhaps like the technology is so advanced that we think it's real life connections, then I guess I would agree with your point of view that it's like a good thing.
This is like this is a little childish, but it does kind of remind me of Wall-E and how all of the people
Mm-hmm.
end up in Wall-E and how
Mhm.
they have everything at their fingertips so much so that they don't even need to stand up and leave their chairs. They can just
Mm-hmm.
communicate with everybody through their headsets and their tech, and they don't really have like necessarily like a care for what is outside of their realm of perception. Um, and I think that could affect a lot of people in a lot of different ways because all of the people there do really seem genuinely happy, but is it good for them? Is it good for us? And I think those are a lot of questions that we can't really answer yet.
Yeah. I feel like it's more like philosophical than like a question that's scientific.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I feel like it could be helpful for people who are disabled or in the hospital or just can't have interaction, right? In
Mm-hmm.
person. So like if virtual reality were to get to that point, those populations would probably have the most perceived benefit.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah, I get that.
Well, that kind of wraps up today's conversation on does technology make us more alone? It seems like we all came to the conclusion that technology, although it has the ability to make us more connected, it's more less rewarding relationships than those that are in person.
Mhm.
Hmm. Yeah, and it also seems that we all kind of agree that it's a double-edged sword when it comes to technology and how we feel about the relationships that we have because while we are fostering our interpersonal relationships online, there are parts of those things that diminish in knowing that we're not actually talking to or interacting with people face to face, and some of that sociality is lost on us.
And even despite the fact that we were kind of bashing on technology this whole episode, it's still good to be in the know and good to be connected. So make sure to check us out on our website, theintersectionalpodcast.com, and on our Instagram. And if you have any questions, you can email us also at theintersectionalpodcast@gmail.com.
Thank you.